Alrighty, so originally I was thinking about to make a super review where I'm gonna look at all 14 games that happened in this match week, but I thought better of it because with how crazy this match week was, and you could argue this might have been the craziest match week we have seen all season long with so much headlines that happened throughout this week. I decided that I'm just going to split into two video, and I'm going to just look at the Friday game, and then I'll do a relatively long review looking at the 11 games that happened on Saturday, because if I decide to combine the review into one big video, it's going to be at least 2 hours. And again, there was just so much storylines that we're going to talk about, and we're going to first talk about the first game, which I think this game kind of sets a tone in terms of what kind of match we were going to get between the Philadelphia Union versus DC United, because my oh my, this was an ass kicking that I have not seen on national television probably ever since the infamous Red Wedding game between NYCFC versus the Red Bulls. Remember back in 2016 when both of those New York teams play against each other and how the Red Bulls were able to win 7-0 against NYCFC on the road, and it's again deemed as the infamous Red Wedding game. This one was kind of similar to that, not just, of course, the scoreline, but the fact that, yeah, this was as one-sided a game I've seen in a very long time. And what's even more shocking about this game is that it could have been more. The record was actually for the taking for the Union in this one if they didn't miss a couple of chances and also miss a penalty in this one. Now, in the first half, just 1 minute in, Jose Martinez hits one straight to Romo before 7 minutes later, Bedoya would score from Martinez to give the Union a 1-0 lead. While it was an early goal, I don't think anybody inside Subaru Park would have figured that this was the beginning of what would just be an absolute shellac that the Union, or shellac, is that even a word? But just an absolute demolition that the Union would put against DC United. In fact, they also mentioned the fact that the Union have really struggled this season when they score first. They're only 6-5-1 so far when scoring first. And one of the big problems for the Union this season is that whenever they score the first goal, it means that they're probably going to end up drawing the game because they just have that inability to find that second goal. In the 12th minute, Bedoya hits one straight to Romo as the Union was on the front foot and once again was pressing for the second goal. Jack Elliott then tried a cheeky backheel that went wide from close range before Romo was able to deny Bedoya. And that, while it was all Union in this one, you kind of sense that maybe we're going to see a similar story where, the story of the season for the Union is just that they just could not get that second goal. And that because they couldn't get that second goal and they let team come back into the game, they basically ends up in a 1-1 draw. But little did we know that right after when I wrote that, the Union did get that second goal. And it's Carranza scoring from Elliott and Wagner to give the Union a 2-0 lead. Little did we also know that Carranza would have a career night in this one too. But then in the 24th minute, oh my goodness, this was just an absolute horror miss by Hariel here. I mean, he basically did all the good work to round Romo there, but yeah, that's one that the youngster would definitely not want to see back because he basically just missed an empty net there from close range. But fortunately, that was quickly forgotten because in the 25th minute and literally 1 minute after that horror miss, the Union would make it 3-0, and it's Carranza scoring again from Flock and Gostek to push the lead to 3, and this could get ugly for DC because the amount of time where the Union was able to get through on the attack. I mean, I would say that maybe this is a combination where after all the frustration that the Union has been put into this game, but also just a combination of DC decided that they weren't going to show up in this game, both offensively and especially on the defensive end, because in the 36th minute, it would be 4-0 in favor of the Union as Bedoya would score his second goal from Wagner to give the Union a 4-0 lead. There was then another shout for there was a shout for a penalty for the Union that was not given. Defending was non-existent for DC in this game with the amount of space that the Union were operating. And then right on the stroke of halftime, to put the exclamation mark, they make it 5-0. It's Uru scoring from Gastak to make it 5-0 in favor of the Philadelphia Union. And this is when we started thinking, well, are we going to see history in this game? Because for a while, I've seen a lot of MLS game where the scoreline is like 5-0. The most recent one, certainly one that I do not want to remember as a Quakes fan. I remember when the Quakes were down 5-0 against the Seattle Sounders during 2020, and I thought the Sounders were probably going to break the record for the most goals scored by a team in MLS. And again, there was a chance that the Union could have done in this one, and that you could say that they probably should be 6-0 up if Haria didn't make that horror miss back in the 24th minute. But nevertheless, they were leading 5-0 into this one, and this is also where it started to get to a point where, yeah, Fox basically decided that, yeah, that we're not going to pay attention to this game anymore, and that, you know, it kind of doesn't help the fact that the halftime show was basically dedicated for El Trafico, and they started to talk about the whole Gareth Bale situation. But as we head into the second half, Blake did rob Funtas from close range in the 49th minute. DC actually did show some fight and some pride in the early part, as just 2 minutes later, Blake would deny Kamara in the back post. I mean, it's great fight that DC, of course, have shown, because, you know, it's definitely not easy that when you are 5-0 down heading into the second half, that you want to show some tenacity. I mean, you could have easily just rolled over. But in the 55th minute, Blake would once again deny Funtas from close range. I gotta feel so bad for Taxi Funtas, who, you know, coming off of a hat trick in the last game, you know, his confidence is sky high. And then this, of course, happened. And, you know, another player that I also have to feel bad is Federico Romo for the DC United netminder, because, yeah, I would say that none of the goals that he has, well, maybe one or two might be one that you could say that he could have done better, but yeah, he was just getting completely hung out to dry by this DC defense that, like I said, basically decided not to show up in this game whatsoever. And then in the 59th minute, Uru would make it 6-0 in favor of the Union, and I think this also is a goal where it once again flattened DC, because, like I said, up to that point, DC was actually playing relatively well. They were looking to get one back, but, you know, that goal really kind of flattened them again, because in the 65th minute, a penalty was given to the Union after Odell Ashim handballed it in the box, and actually spelled Odell Ashim name wrong there. It's not with an A, actually with an O right here. But yeah, Odell Ashim basically handballed that one in the box. Now, there was a clash between Martinez and Carranza of who decided to take the penalty there, and that, you know, it's kind of understandable that Carranza wants to take it because he wants the hat trick, but Martinez also want to take it because he wants to score a goal to get his confidence back up, and that Bedoya immediately kind of stepped in, and that, you know, as the captain, it's understandable that he kind of had the final say, and Carranza, of course, gets the penalty. But you also kind of had a sense that when you have a clash between players to decide who takes the penalty spot, not only it's not a good look, but you probably know that it's not going to end well. And indeed, that was the case, because Romo would deny Carranza from the spot, though it was not really a good penalty from Julian Carranza. Like, that one was just straight down the middle. I mean, Romo did kind of commit the wrong way, but it was just so badly hit that even Romo committing the wrong way still was able to get a feat into saving that penalty. But nevertheless, Carranza did make up for it and did get the hat trick in the 72nd minute, his first in his career, as he scored here from Burke and Wagner to make it 7-0 in favor of the Union. And it could have been 8-0 just 3 minutes later if he didn't miss one hot on the header. And that, yeah, at that point, you know, I mentioned the commentator already have checked out, started talking about El Trafico. They really checked out. Like, for the last 15 minutes, they were just discussing El Trafico and the whole Gareth Bale situation, and even talk about the Charlotte versus Nashville game, which, you know, I said in the preview, I guarantee that they're going to start talk about that game being a rivalry, and unsurprisingly, they already mentioned the fact that this is going to be a rivalry. And by the way, I actually did not watch the game between Charlotte versus Nashville, and that I think maybe it's for the best, because I can guarantee that there probably is going to be a lot of saying that this is going to be a rivalry throughout the game, even though I probably won't catch it when I watch the condensed highlights. Something tells me that's going to be the case, because, you know, again, this is how MLS is. They basically try to manufacture rivalry, even though it just barely exists. But yeah, in this game between the Union versus DC, which, by the way, this game was labeled as a feature match in Heineken Rivalry Week, which, again, I don't get why this is the case, because I don't see the rivalry between DC versus the Union, especially historically, at least in these last couple of games. The Union has absolutely dominated DC United, and this is not the first time that the Union has flattered DC United in a match. And And I would say that this is probably the extreme cases because in the end they absolutely flattened them by winning 7-0 at home. Easily the largest margin of victory that the Union has against DC, and also tie the record for the largest margin of goals and the most goal a team have scored this not just this season, but or actually not this season, but in league history itself. But the shots in this one, 24 shots compared to 11 that DC had, 12 shots on goal for the 3 that DC had, 4 shots off target for the 3 that DC had, 8 shots that was blocked for the 5 that DC had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession that DC has in this game. And, you know, it also got so bad that the DC interim head coach, Ashton, he openly apologized to the fans. And I don't blame him for doing so because, yeah, after that kind of performance, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of DC fans are up in arms in terms of not only the demanding Ashton to potentially step down, but once again demanding some changes in the front office. And I think there's got to be some changes too, because like I said, you know, this front office, they kind of botched the Hernan Losada kind of hiring, eventually kind of fired him and thinking that things were going to be different. And that I talked about before, you know, there was that new head coach boost or that new interim head coach boost for Chad Ashton, but it's safe to say that it is all but gone after this game, and that we have such a flattering result that DC has in this game. You know, most of the time we might see some changes, and we'll see whether or not if that is going to be the case, especially at the end of this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the game that the media just cannot stop talking about, which is LAFC versus the Aoi Galaxy. And in the end, this was kind of a very El Tráfico kind of game where we saw a lot of goals in this one, and it was kind of back and forth in this one at parts of it where momentum basically does not exist in this one. But in the end, it's LAFC getting a win against the Galaxy and able to outlast them in this one. Though early on in the 4th minute, Joveljic did flick one wide from close range before Arango dragged it wide after just a WTF turnover from the Galaxy defense. In fact, there was a lot of WTF turnover in this game, at least in the early part. There was a huge shout for a penalty for LAFC after they feel like Koulibaly handballed that one in the box. It was very close, but I think in the end they got the call right in terms of that. But nevertheless, LAFC did take the lead in the 17th minute as Cifuentes would score from Acosta to get LAFC a 1-0 lead. This was just terrible marking for the Galaxy on the corner. Like, the fact that they left Cifuentes wide open in the 12 or the 6-yard box. Yeah, you know what's going to happen. He's going to bury that one every day, and indeed he did. And yeah, LAFC were up 1-0 in this game. They mentioned that LAFC is undefeated this season when scoring first, and that record is now going to be 9-0 after this game. Though Crépeau did rob Joveljic, who was in on goal in the 20th minute. That was a big moment too, because Joveljic was in on goal, and you would fancy with the form that Dejan Joveljic has been in for the Galaxy, he put that one in, but Crépeau made a great save to rob him there. And the intensity of El Tráfico is definitely in full force. Again, momentum was non-existent in this game. Every time you're thinking, okay, maybe the Galaxy is going to be able to get some momentum and start to push for an equalizer, and then all of a sudden LAFC is looking to get that second goal. Then there was a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy that was not given before Cifuentes puts one right to Bond. Rango then skies one over the bar in the 31st minute. Shots were somehow only 3 apiece for both teams. I mean, I checked the stats and I thought I was expect to see a crooked number, but no, it was only 3 apiece for both of these teams, which I couldn't believe it, because I swear there has to be more shots than just a combined 6 for both of these teams up to that point. Then Alvarez tried to curl one in the first minute stoppage time, but he puts that one wide as we head to halftime with LAFC leading 1-0 in this El Tráfico. Now in the second half, we did kind of had a cagey start to the second half, and that's something you usually don't say about El Tráfico. El Tráfico usually, there's never point of a period where it can be cagey and it could be a little bit stale, but that was kind of the case, at least for the first 10 minutes, where there was a lot of a foul that was called, a lot of stop and go kind of situation, but that kind of came to an end because in the 55th minute, the Galaxy would equalize, and it's greinster scoring from Rivalison and Alvarez to tie the game up at 1 apiece. That's Samuel Greinster first goal of the season, and what a time to score your first goal of the season in the biggest game that the Galaxy are going to play. And then on the other end, Bond robbed Holland's head, who was through on goal in the 63rd minute before Alvarez fired one right to Crépeau. Again, classic El Tráfico. There was chances left, and right, momentum doesn't exist. But at the same time, I also kind of feel like, yeah, a goal is coming in this game. I mean, not only the fact that this game was being on a knife edge, but you just have a feeling with the amount of chances both team was going to get, a goal was going to come, and it did came in the 70th minute, as Cifuentes would score his second goal of the game from Vela to make it 2-1 in favor of LAFC. Not long after, it would be 3-1 in favor of LAFC, and it's Chicho Arango's turn to get on the score sheet as he scored here from Vela and Opoku to give LAFC a 3-1 lead. By the way, throughout this broadcast, I think John Strong mentioned the fact that, LAFC is still looking for a DP number 9, which, again, I still don't understand why they decided to think about getting a DP number 9, when literally the guy that is banging the goal in that number 9 spot, known as Chicho Arango, is literally their answer. And, as much as, Arango is probably happy the fact that he's scoring goal, you got a sense that he must be very frustrated the fact that he is still he is still hearing from how the team that he play is trying to replace him and maybe find a number 9 in that spot. And, sometimes when you decided to, I know that LAFC wants to continue to build their team. I mean, their team is already super talented. It's probably the most talented team right now in MLS. But, there's at a point where you don't want, you want to make sure that you don't want to build your team just, way too talented. And, well, actually, that doesn't sound right, but more like in this situation where, for LAFC, they just need to be careful not to just really decided to go for even more and maybe get another good player into this team, because, while it's great to continue to build a good team, it can also have had a point where you could have a clash of personality, and that, again, in Arango case, I know that he's happy that he's scoring goals for LFC, but I think he's inside and he's probably a little bit ticked off the fact that he is still his team is still thinking about replacing him, and it's getting to a point where I won't even be surprised that eventually he would he might be thinking about moving on to another team, which for every MLS team right now, if Arango is going to be available, every one of them is going to be blowing LAFC phones to trying to get him on their team. But nevertheless, in the 81st minute, Revolson would score from Vasquez to make it 3-2 in favor of LAFC, because you knew this game was not over. Like, yes, LAFC did have that comfortable 3-1 lead, and in a normal game, you would think that that's game, set, and match, but this is El Tráfico. It's not a normal game, and that you knew that this game was going down to the wire. You knew the Galaxy wasn't going to give up. Kleshin did put it high from 10 yards out before. I thought LAFC was really on the ropes. Like, the Galaxy was getting so much space working at on the attack, and LAFC were looking like they were really shaken after they gave up that goal to get the Galaxy back into this game. And then Koulibaly actually had a chance to make it 3-3, and probably should have made it 3-3 if his header wasn't actually blocked by his own teammate. But despite the amount of pressure the Galaxy put on LAFC survived. They win 3-2 in this one, and the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 15 that the Galaxy had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that LAFC had, 7 shots off target for the 4 that LAFC had. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 44% possession compared to 56% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And like I said, this is one of the rare times that LAFC was able to come out of El Tráfico in the regular season with a win. In fact, I think this is like only their third time that they've been able to beat the Galaxy in the regular season. And that, I think when you also look at how this game is, as even as it is, I would say that maybe the Galaxy were kind of the better side, at least for some part, but, LAFC kind of was the more clinical. And I think the other thing that maybe was a downfall for the Galaxy in this game, and I actually didn't write it here on the board, is the substitution. I think the Galaxy fans mentioned it a lot after this game, that the substitution that Vanny basically brought on basically killed their momentum. Like, they brought it on at one point both Sasha Kleshin and Victor Vasquez into this game, and I think even Stu Holden kind of mentioned at one point, literally right before when greinster put it in, they were going to bring on Vasquez and Kleshin, and that was going to be an insane move to do, because why would you decide to bring on two very low attacker in or one slow midfield and one slow attacker into this game, when in El Tráfico this game is intense. Like, it would make absolutely zero sense when you bring on some of the slowest player that would just kill the attack in a game like this. And apparently Greg Vanney doesn't get that memo, and it's unsurprising that as much as the Galaxy did kind of push late in the game, it was kind of dealt with pretty easily because both Kleshin and Victor Vasquez was kind of holding the team back with the slow development of play that they were developed on the attack. But nevertheless, it was another great game of El Tráfico, and unfortunately, it's going to be also a game that, again, the media is going to talk about non-stop because they just love this rivalry better than any rivalry that we have right now in MLS. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board, we got the Vancouver Whitecaps versus Minnesota United. And this game, as I said, it kicked off 30 minutes after El Tráfico, and I know this game was largely overshadowed, though I did still keep a close eye on this one because, it did involve one of my team. And I feel like, with how crazy El Tráfico was and how this game, for the most part, it was kind of a little bit uneventful. It really they started to kick off right after when El Tráfico is over. Like right after when this game is over, it feels like that energy from this game kind of carry into this one because the last 30 minutes of this game, boy, it was chaotic and it actually kind of ended up in a very unexpected result that I was expecting coming out of this one. But early on in the first half, I thought the Loons were on the front foot, which is kind of a rare thing to do because this team always tends to start off slow whenever they go on the road. But it was kind of refreshing that they were on the front foot and they showed some intensity. Reynoso had an opportunity on the free kick, but he blasted that one high. And then the first shot for the Whitecaps came in the 13th minute as Dahomey poked one right to Dane Sinclair. And then I thought the Whitecaps started to control the game. And, the Loons, as the first half kind of wears down, they were starting to struggle to string some good passes. And the intensity definitely had dropped compared to the first 15 minutes. And, keep in mind, this is a team that have played a lot of games in these last couple of weeks, and it's unfortunate that when you also look at the schedule that Minnesota is going to have, although they have a relatively easy schedule in these next couple of weeks, they still have to play like almost seven or 3 games in 7 days throughout the remaining of July. But in the 25th minute, Dahomey did sky one over the bar before White hits one straight to also wrote the wrong name there. I wrote the player that isn't even available for the Whitecaps, and that is Thomas Hassel, but he hits that one straight to Dane Sinclair. Cropper then denied 9 trap from long ranges. That was really the first big opportunity that Minnesota has had, probably since the 7th minute in this game. I mean, the Whitecaps really kind of dominate the latter part of the first half, but again, they weren't being very clinical, and they were kind of a little bit lackluster in the final third too. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, this is when the Whitecaps really start to step it up in terms of the attack, and were really pressing for the opening goal. Goal had an opportunity coming out of halftime, but he puts one just wide from 20 yards out, and then he tried to stab one in from close range, but that one goes high. And then Raposo puts it high in the 53rd minute, and as I said, the Whitecaps come out strong, and the Loons, they were living on the edge with the amount of times where they were giving up so much space for the Whitecaps to operate, especially on the flank. Though Reynoso did have the chance to get the opening goal, and this was actually kind of a cross that he was going to do. I mean, I don't think he was intended to shoot this one from a tight angle, but it actually struck the post in the 60th minute. Before on the other end, Vite blasts one into the stands, and then Huwane actually went through on goal, but unsurprisingly, he actually missed that one on target. I mean, Bongi Huwane, as I mentioned, he's trying hard to finally score a goal, but it just kind of feels like maybe he started to try. He's trying a little too hard. Like that's kind of the frustrating thing when you are a player that is going through a goal drought where sometimes you're just trying too hard to finally break out of it, and that maybe is an example of it. But in the 65th minute, our goal did struck the post on the curler, and you just feel like it's a matter of time before someone scored. Like the chances were really building up, and keep in mind, this was also the time when that El Tráfico game just ended, and as I mentioned, this is when the chaos began between both of these teams in this one. And little do I know that literally 1 minute after I wrote it's a matter someone would score, somebody did score. And unfortunately, it's not for Minnesota, as the Whitecaps would actually get the opening goal, as Cavallini would score from Vite and Raposo to give the Whitecaps a 1-0 lead. That was not great defending from Minnesota. Like the fact that Vite got so much space to cross that one in, and also not marking probably the most dangerous player in terms of header, that is Lucas Cavallini. Absolute criminal by that Loons back line. And there was signs that it was going to happen, because they were really playing with fire with the amount of space that they were letting the Whitecaps to operate on the attack. And I also thought that I feel like this is done for Minnesota, because I know this team, whenever they go down 1-0, the heads are going to drop, especially on the road, and that this is also a team that I don't think this season has come back after giving up a goal. So you would definitely feel, to my biggest surprise, that lead that the Whitecaps had in the 66th minute would be wiped away in a matter of just 5 minutes. And in the 71st minute, it's actually Kamar Lawrence scoring from Taylor and Reynoso to tie the game up at 1 apiece. So 2 fullbacks and 2 Jamaican fullbacks combining to score a goal and the assist. That's something you don't see every day. And especially, it's been a while that Kamar Lawrence actually has got on the score sheet. I think the last time he scored, he was still playing for the New York Red Bulls, because I don't think he actually scored during his time with Toronto FC. But in the 78th minute, Reynoso did try to score Olympico, but missed high. But then in the 84th minute, Luis Almeria scoring from Ja'Cory Hayes to give the Loons a 2-1 lead. And what a strike that was for Luis Almeria. And I feel like this is definitely great news to finally see Luis Almeria start to get going. I mean, I will say that, for most part of this game, he was kind of inactive, but that's what great strikers do. Like, you could have a number 9 that could be inactive for most part of the game, but if you are give him one chance to basically score, the greatest strikers in the world and the greatest striker in MLS would usually bury that, and Almeria basically showed that instant. Like, again, he didn't have much to work with throughout most part of the game, but he was given that chances. And also, you got to question that Whitecaps defense, especially giving him so much space to strike that one from 24 yards out. But nevertheless, he still had to finish it, and he buried that one in the bottom left corner to give Minnesota a 2-1 lead. Cropper then denied. Oh, I forgot to wrote the name of the player. I think it was Reynoso from long range in the 86th minute. But nevertheless, in the 88th minute, Minnesota put this one away, and for once, no stressful kind of game. I mean, when they were leading 2-1, I thought it was kind of too good to be true, and I thought, yeah, the Whitecaps are going to find themselves a way to tie the game. But thankfully, that was not how the case, because, again, this game kind of gone against what I was thinking, especially in the second half, because in the 88th minute, Fragapane would basically make sure Minnesota would walk away with all 3 points at BC Place, as he scored here from Dane Sinclair to make it 3-1 in favor of Minnesota. And the goal scorer and the assister kind of tells you the story that, yeah, this one was coming for a Route 1 ball. Like, usually if a goalkeeper gets on the assist chart, it's usually from a Route 1 ball, but this was really one that, yeah, it was, again, not defend very well for the Whitecaps. Like, this one kind of just bounce up, and that, credit Fragapane did a good job in terms of bringing it down, but the fact that there was 2 defenders for the Whitecaps that could have easily buried that away, yeah, you got to question the way that the Whitecaps defended that Route 1 ball, and it's not a big surprise that they were punished because of that. And yeah, in the end, really just kind of against what I usually think about this team this season, Minnesota was able to walk away with a come-from-behind 3-1 victory against the Whitecaps, and the shots in this one, 14 shots for the 10 that the Whitecaps had, 2 shots on goal for the 5 that Minnesota has, 3 shots off target for the 7 that the Whitecaps had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Whitecaps has in this game. And to just add to the fact that this was just such an unexpected result, this is a Whitecaps team that don't give up leads often. Like, this team, I think, coming into this game, they've only lost twice this season, when they were leading 1-0 and scored the first goal, and both of those times they didn't really kind of implode like they did in this one. And that, again, this is really the first time they just completely imploded in the last 20 minutes of this game. And to do it at home is even more surprising, because this team have only lost once heading into this game too. So yeah, it was kind of crazy that is how this game turns out. But as I will talk about a little bit later in terms of the 11 games that happened on Saturday, logic doesn't make sense this week, and that there's just some crazy kind of games that I'll talk about in just a bit in terms of the busy 11 game action, but at least in terms of this one, this basically adds to the latest story of, again, what has just been a crazy week that we saw this week. And that Friday action basically was just kind of almost like the appetizer of what we see, the huge monster entree that we saw in terms of the Saturday action that I'll talk about in just a bit. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these free games? And like I said, I'm gonna upload this one, and then I'll do the recording for those 11 games, and most likely that review won't be uploaded until tomorrow, because I have a feeling that review is going to be really long with some of the crazy things that I'll talk about, and some of the games that really just kind of gone peak MLS mode. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.